Shifting focus for now, the Canadian Prime Minister says Canada stands ready to restart trade talks with the U.S. U.S. President Donald Trump pulled the plug on trade discussions with Canada, citing the Ontario advertisement against his signature tariffs plan, featuring the voice of former U.S. President Ronald Reagan.
And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries.
The Canadian leader's reaction comes after, in a social media post, Trump said, quoting, "Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the U.S. He added, "Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." U.S. President Donald Trump, remember, has also questioned the timing of this ad. He said the move appears timed to interfere with a looming Supreme Court case challenging the legality of his signature tariff policy. The president warned of disaster if the top court overturns his country-based tariffs. That includes forcing the government to refund companies billions of dollars in already paid duties. The court is scheduled to hear oral arguments in the case on the 5th of November. The television ad, funded by the Ontario government, had aimed to sow doubt among Republican voters, reportedly, using one of the party's most iconic voices. The ad was set to run until the end of January and cost about 75 million Canadian dollars. Ontario's premier, teasing the new ad campaign at a Toronto business meet last week, said, "We are going to repeat that message to every Republican district there is right across the entire country," quote unquote. And while Trump hit out at Canada, there was no clarity on whether the ads would continue to run in the U.S. Trump also mentioned the ads were worth $75,000, while Ontario had reported that the campaign would cost them 75 million Canadian dollars. The campaign was set to run until the end of January. Ford had said the ad would air on some networks from October 17 and on other major networks over the last and this week. The premier had also noted that CNN was unlikely to air the ad, explaining that they are a little nervous, quote unquote. The campaign in question includes an address former U.S. President Ronald Reagan gave in 1987. Reagan had also explained that tariffs should be used to solve a specific problem, not start a trade war. Ontario's ad features some parts of the former president's speech.
Now, that message of free trade is one I conveyed to Canada's leaders a few weeks ago, and it was warmly received there. Indeed, throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. You see, at first, when someone says, "Let's impose tariffs on foreign imports," it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity.
And separately, the Chinese embassy in Washington had also used the Reagan clip reportedly in a social media post on October 17 to taunt Trump's tariffs, it seems, as tensions rose between China and the U.S. over trade.